what Tamami AlBarghouti said. Today is the 21st of May, 2021. And this war, or this round of it, has begun while I'm in a phase of mourning that you all know about. And I've become one of the most self-denying, absence-seeking, and amongst those most familiar with loss. And amongst the most cognizant that advice givers and doctors are in fact committing a crime when they fail or make a mistake, because they are exposing other people to the danger of their opinions while they themselves are safe from their consequences. Therefore, I'm not saying what I'm saying in a fleeting moment of enthusiasm during clashes that are neither the first, nor will they be the last. I'm fully aware of the gravity of my words. In fact, I dare say them, particularly because I'm aware of their gravity. قولي ثقيل لأن قولي يحمل دما وغال وعال هو الدم. My words are heavy because my words carry blood in them, and cherished and precious is blood. And I bear full responsibility for my words, today and tomorrow, alive and dead. In fact, this is both a testimony and a testament, so let whoever wants remember my words. O people, liberating Palestine entirely from the river to the sea is both objectively and realistically possible. I do not claim that it is easy, nor do I claim that it is inevitable. However, it is feasible, and it is feasible in this generation, within our lifetime. And it is possible, not with armies that buy their weapons from their enemies, but with a popular resistance that is both continuous and accumulative, like the one unfolding before our eyes. So be patient with me for a few minutes to clarify how. Israel has an apartheid system that discriminates against people based on their religion. It is the only state on the face of earth that grants people passports based on their inherited religion. So for example, if you were to show up at a Pakistani airport and tell them I am Muslim, you will not be granted a passport. And if you were to show up at an Indian airport and tell them I'm Hindu, you will not be granted a passport. However, being Jewish or having a Jewish mother is all that you need to show up at Ben Gurion airport and instantly be granted Israeli citizenship, which will enable you to live in a Palestinian home whose owners were forcefully displaced from or had their land stolen. This system is what has led Palestinians to either be martyrs or homeless.
هذا النظام هو الذي أدى إلى أن يكون الفلسطينيون بين شريد وشهيد.
Not for any reason other than the fact that they were born on this land, and that the religion of their mothers is disliked by the teenage border officers whose families came from Eastern Europe not too long ago. And that an all-out confrontation between the two demographic masses in historical Palestine, the native population and their invaders, would guarantee the dismantling of this system. And this confrontation could have been a civil one, like all anti-apartheid movements in most countries, if Israel's leaders were rational and far-sighted. But the confrontations are happening in the form of a long series of gradually and increasingly violent clashes that are more spatially expansive, like the ones happening right now. Because, again, Israel's leaders are short-sighted and arrogant. وَالسِّلَاحُ يَغُرُّ. And weapons make people arrogant. Indeed, the number of Palestinian Arabs between the river and the sea exceeds the number of Jews who possess Israeli citizenship by more than 166,000, according to two official Palestinian and Israeli statistics. And the demographic gap is elected to increase in favor of Palestinians in the two upcoming decades. Moreover, the confrontation will not be against the whole demographic, but simply against the fraction of them who support the apartheid system. And they are much smaller in number by necessity. In addition to that, Palestinians are much younger in age and much poorer in finance, which makes them more dangerous.
والفلسطينيون أصغر سنا وأقل مالا ما يجعلهم أشد خطرا.
See, Israel has tried to suppress Palestinians using two strategies. Firstly, by dividing them and concentrating each group in narrow isolated holes, and secondly, by pitting them against one another. So we see that Israel has divided them into the people of the West Bank, the people of Gaza, the people of Al-Quds, Jerusalem, and the people of 48, the interior. And then divided the West Bank into three areas, Area A, Area B, and Area C. And then went further and isolated the cities of the West Bank from each other, and then tried to suppress Palestinians with Palestinians through various peace treaties, security cooperation, and economic dependence. And with every new confrontation, these divisions disappear. Because we all saw Gaza standing up for Jerusalem, and we also saw Lid and Al-Jalil and the West Bank standing up for Gaza. Better yet, Lid got this close to liberating itself. بل إن اللد كادت تحرر نفسها بنفسها. And it's also noteworthy to mention that each new confrontation does not only embarrass the occupiers, but it also embarrasses everybody who decided to make peace with them. Because when the people are not in a state of peace, each authority that chooses peace with Israel has no authority except over its employees. And while the Arab armies continue to buy their weapons from the same sources that supply and arm Israel with theirs, Palestinians do not buy their stones or missiles, but rather compile them themselves. For indeed, the independence of a nation is conditional on the independence of its weapons. For no country can achieve its freedom with pawned armaments. وإن استقلال السلاح شرط استقلال الوطن ولا يمكن تحرير أرض بسلاح مرتهن. And despite some Arab governments imposing a siege on the Palestinian resistance, we can all see that they are still capable of developing their own weapons. In addition to that, an all-out confrontation between two interwoven demographic masses, such as that of the Palestinians and their invaders, deprives Israel from its two main military advantages, which are its air force and untraditional weapons. See, even in the case of Gaza, Israel could not conduct its long airstrike campaigns until it evacuated every last one of its settlers from there. Plus, Israel has continuously bombed Gaza in 2008, in 2012, and again in 2014 without changing anything. And if Israel decides to reoccupy Gaza, then it had done so for 40 years before, yet the resistance still flourished despite the occupation. Indeed, the accumulation and the diversity of these confrontations put a great deal of pressure on the racist political system until it dismantles it. That is to say, that a country becomes unrulable when more than half of the people who reside in it not only not obey its rulers, but do everything in their power to disobey them in every way they can. From painting graffiti on the walls, to striking, to demonstrating, to going to war. All while increasing in numbers every year and every hour. And the state whose whose colonizing, whose occupying fathers intended to be a safe haven is no longer that. And nobody's migrating to it anymore because they are much safer where they are than they would be if they migrate to it. And that is because oppression poses as much of a danger to the oppressor as it does to the oppressed. Again, we reiterate that we wish to achieve our rights and freedom without any violence that we always bear the brunt of. However, if your fighter jets impose death on us in an all-out confrontation or in a series of confrontations, then it is our obligation to whisper in the ear of our murderers that the painful present of the region displays the repercussions of the confrontations between regular armies and popular resistance movements, or a war between the two sects, and how their destructive outcomes far surpass those of classical wars. And since everybody in these kinds of wars loses what they have, then those who have more will lose more. In these instances, the powerful is defeated if he isn't victorious, and the weak becomes victorious so long as he isn't defeated. هنا يهزم القوي إن لم ينتصر وينتصر الضعيف إن لم يهزم. And we must remind the pilots who are excited about bombing us that Israel has never won any single decisive victory in any battle it has fought since 1967. Because it did not win in neither the war of attrition in 68 nor in the war of 73. And when it invaded Lebanon in 78, it left. And then when it tried invading it again in 82 under the pretext of securing Al-Jalil, it did nothing except add on top of the Palestinian weapons, Lebanese weapons, whose range surpassed Al-Jalil and reached as far as Al-Naqab. And it failed in all of its campaigns against Lebanon in 93, in 96, and in 2006. And it also failed in all of its campaigns against Gaza in 2008, in 2012, in 2014, as it is failing today in 2021. And if you really think about it, in the last 55 years, Israel has not gained any new land except from those who made peace with it, as the number of settlements in the West Bank has increased 3 times since the Oslo Accords. And Israel has made a fool out of everybody who cooperated or made peace with it, which also made resisting it an absolute necessity. Therefore, it is safe to say, yesterday and today, that the resistance in its most abstract sense is the legitimate and only representative of the Palestinian people. And I declare that liberation is possible. And it is possible in this generation. However, it is not inevitable. Resistance brings it closer, and compromise takes it further away.
تقربه المقاومة وتبعده المساومة.
As does treason, normalization, dictatorships, and sectarian wars in our region. So let it be known that those who support tyrants and normalizers are no different than fighters in the Israeli army who prolong our invasion and shorten the lives of our loved ones. But that's another story for another time. This conversation will not be important in a few years when the land and the people are liberated. So when that day comes, remember the songs and forget the politics. For wars come and go. And how many times before our time were lands conquered then liberated, and both their conquest and liberation were forgotten. However, right now, as that teenage soldier is forcing millions to live under tin plate roofs or to mourn the loss of their loved ones simply because he dislikes their religion or their eye color, then it is a horrible thing. And you need not be a victim of it to recognize how horrible it truly is. Therefore, remember this. And every time somebody tells you that the resistance is futile, tell them that both the past and present are a testament that oppression is what is truly futile. I know that patience is bitter. In fact, I am today one of the most acquainted with its bitterness. However, be patient and you will be rewarded. For you are neither the first who was patient and was rewarded, nor are you the first who resisted, then achieved victory.
لكن اصبر تنال فلست أول من صبر فنال ولا أول من قاوم فانتصر.